Today on another live Collider movie talk, the Birds of Prey get a first look down in Brazil. Kylo's helmet, what's that all about in The Rise of Skywalker? And Spider-Man drinks, who knew that? Is he of legal age? I don't even know. We're going to talk about all of it on Collider Movie Talk today. As soon as that logo rolls on out of here.
He's going to be playing that voice while he's got it.
That's the kind of mood I'm in today. Hey, everybody. John Rocha sitting in for Perri Nemiroff. I climbed out of my deathbed. As some of you saw there on my Twitter and my Instagram, what I'm suffering through, I really appreciate all the kind words. But I'm here to host Collider Movie Talk. You know what? Because the show must go on. And I know I can't carry this load alone. So I brought along two incredible friends and incredibly talented and knowledgeable people to join me. That's Jandreau over there. How are you, my man?
Doing well, man. We're gonna keep you propped up. We got this.
Thank you. I'm
moral support.
You're wearing Muhammad Ali. That's great. He's gotten up many times after being knocked down. I certainly feel knocked down today. Thank you for that. And over there, Jeff, with a shirt the homeless man gave him on the way into work today. For Collider Movie Talk. How are you?
Great. I had my Z-Pack this morning. I'm feeling good.
What is that? Naked juice? What is even in that?
He's recovering.
It's naked orange juice.
Yeah. Isn't orange juice naked by itself? What do you put in orange juice?
I don't know.
There you go. All right, well, that's kind of thrilling commentary you can look forward to today on Collider Movie Talk. I want to say one thing to Adam Smith in the booth. Good luck, my man. I don't know how we're going to do on this one, but let's have some fun. The first item we're going to talk about, that's Harley Quinn. Down in Brazil. Down in Brazil. Some of you remember there from Frank Sinatra's days. But down in Brazil at the CCXP 2019 in Sao Paulo, we have Haley Fouch down there. I think Steve Weintraub is down there. I think Adam Chitwood is down there as well. But this comes from Haley's report. She was there and they got treated, the fans got treated to the first 5 minutes of the Birds of Prey and the fantabulous Emancipation of one Harley Quinn. It showed all this exposition that she does the voiceover for, basically breaking up with the Joker, destroying Axis chemicals, all this symbolism of essentially being, like the title says, emancipated from the Joker and pursuing a new life. We get some shots of Huntress, and we get some comments from a number of people there. Kathy Ann, who directed the film, said in her quote, "It was awesome creating Gotham, a new Gotham that's different from the Gotham you've seen before. This is Harley Quinn's Gotham. This Gotham is colorful and crazy and weird." Besides breaking the record for saying Gotham in, multiple times in a short amount of sentences here, I think it's an interesting comment and quote. You read through the 5 minutes here. So much is revealed already in the first 5 minutes. And I don't know if you're watching the Harley Quinn animated series yet, Coy, on DC Universe. I was treated to the first 2 episodes. Certainly the beginning of that is almost the same thing of her breaking up with the Joker, wanting to find her own way. So is this a movement amongst all of DC with Harley Quinn and Warner Brothers to kind of make her own thing?
I'd say we're living in like a Harley Sance of sorts. Like we're getting a lot of Harley Quinn comics. There's 3 or 4 different lines in the comics right now. There's the show, there's this. So I think DC is smart in using, I think it's a good way to keep the Joker Joaquin Phoenix movie as its own animal and use Harley as kind of the pseudo Joker in the live action stuff.
Right.
I don't see them bringing back Jared Leto, and the 5 minutes sounds like they kind of actively state that. It seems like they're like, distancing themselves as much as they can. I'm not saying there's not going to be a live action Joker. I'm not saying this universe doesn't have a Joker. I just think while they're figuring out all their ducks in a row, it's a really smart move to have the Joker be the Margot Robbie character. Right. And Harley Quinn is such a strong character that it's a smart move because we don't need 82 Jokers. I'd rather have a Harley Quinn story. I'd rather see this character evolve. You cast Margot Robbie, you don't halfway use her. So I think it sounds like they're really building that up. I want that solo movie. I think this sounds like a lot of fun. And it sounds like the Gotham sounds to me like the Joel Schumacher in a good way. Yeah. I loved the way Gotham looked in those movies. The rest of the movie was, what it was. Right. But the Gotham elements, I loved the crazy hyper technicolor. So if we get something like that, but with the right tone, it's going to be great.
Well, like anything in life, it's the perspective of the person who's looking at a city. Well, I've seen many great films that showcase the beauty of New York City and the ugly underbelly, dirty side of New York City. Same thing with LA, the beauty of LA and the ugly underside of LA. So it's a matter of the visual, and we're getting an unreliable narrator in Harley Quinn. We see her perception of everything that's happening. So we don't know what's true, what's not. And that's what makes it interesting. Jeff, I know you're not the biggest comic book movie fan, but this idea of taking this approach with the Harley Quinn character, do you like this?
I am mixed on it, I would have to say. I think that Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie's performance as her is a bit like me, in that we work better in small doses, okay? Like, I thought she was obviously the best thing about Suicide Squad, which was not a very good movie, but she stood out.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed watching her, but I don't know that I want her. I don't know that I need a whole movie with that accent. It's kind of annoying.
Okay.
Although I am looking forward to Ewan McGregor and Chris Messina, and I am open to a new Gotham that's crazy and colorful and isn't so gray and drab. So I'm of two opinions with this movie.
Okay. Do you like that they're leaning into the R-rated stuff with this? When you look at the 5 minutes, for example, she feeds I don't know what is it, an animal owner to a hyena.
Lynx, right? A hyena,
you see this going on. She's like throwing knives at Joker's image. She's running her car into the Axis chemicals to blow it up. She's cussing all over the place in this thing.
I mean, yes, I like R-rated. Yes, I mean, whether it's Logan or Joker, that's the stuff that I respond to. So in that sense, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to a new filmmaker, Kathy Ann, who's never really done anything like this. She has one small indie under her belt, which I heard was really good. Ella J. Basco, I think, looks fun in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's something giving me pause from like a full endorsement.
That's fair. I understand. I think there were some people who had not the most positive reaction to the most recent trailer. I certainly. Not that it wasn't a good trailer. My problem was that if you're calling it, you're making a big deal about it being this kind of girl power movie, and it really just focuses on one girl. That I had issues with that with the trailer. I want to know more about the Huntress. I want to see more that's going on. And apparently you do get a little bit more of Kane and Black Canary, all of this going on. So because they showed a new trailer after they did the footage as well. So are you concerned at all, Coy, about how they're approaching this from Harley Quinn's point of view only?
Even the rundown, it sounds like it's Harley Quinn plus. Like all the rundown is like, we gave you 5 minutes of Harley Quinn. She blows up Ace Chemicals. She does this, the Joker knives, all these things. Right. And then we give you a trailer with a sprinkling. So there is a concern of it's a very 90-10. Even with Margot Robbie, I wouldn't mind a 60-40 split. I don't mind if it's you cast an Oscar winner for a reason. I don't want this to be Wolverine and the X-Men. I love Hugh Jackman, but we never got an X-Men movie because we had a Wolverine movie every time with some X-Men in the background.
Right.
So I would appreciate it if they gave us the Birds of Prey, if they want to call it the Birds of Prey. But I don't know if they can with the way they've built it so far. So that is a concern. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because Birds of Prey is the first thing in the title.
Yeah. And then 82 words.
82 words about Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
So Jeff, are you concerned about that as well? That they might be kind of only focusing on her and not like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, the other actresses, Josie Smollett-Bell, all these people who are involved in this. Rosie Perez.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to seeing Rosie Perez back in a big movie because I love her. But yeah, Journey Smollett-Bell, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I'm not sure that I think that they're movie stars or anything like that. I just worry that this movie is going to be a little obnoxious.
Okay.
That is my fear with it.
Well, some of the quotes here, Smollett-Bell talking about Black Canary, she said, Dinah's all heart, and we meet Dinah in the film. She's very much so just got her heart broken as well because she's lost her mother to the world of crime fighting and she wants nothing to do with it. When we meet her, Dinah's working in the Black Mask, which is the name of the bar owned by Roman Sionis, which is Ewan McGregor, who will play a Black Mask. It's interesting because we haven't seen the mask, right? We haven't seen the Black Mask. We've seen the before. We haven't seen the after. And I wonder if that happens at some point during the movie or if it's just he's just called Black Mask.
I hope it's a third act thing. I hope something happens because if they don't do that, then there's a lot of people. That's almost as bad as not having the Birds of Prey in the Birds of Prey movie. There's something about calling him Black Mask a very iconic character and then being like, but Ewan McGregor and his handsome face. Like it's a weweird cop-out. It just feels disingenuous to the character and the name.
It's kind of like the end of Daredevil season 1. You had to have the cut-up of the face of Jigsaw.
And then he came back
and he was like, oh, he still was so pretty. Like they're just scars.
Hello, I'm Chronicles of Narnia's blah, blah, blah with a little cut here. No.
Listen, I want a full-on Black Mask.
Jigsaw.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
Is Black Mask really iconic?
He has become iconic over the last 10, 15 years in the comics. Yes, I'm sure Coy can speak to it more than I can, but certainly if it gets through my points of view, if it gets through my like filters, it certainly has become.
I think we're lowering the bar on icon here, but okay.
Well, comic book movies are
just because you're not aware of it doesn't mean it's not possible. Go ahead.
It depends on where you're like looking at iconography, right? Like if you're mining the well into Birds of Prey, the villains there are going to be your Batman rogues, and I think it's smart to not use like a more traditional Batman rogue here. So I think Black Mask is like that C+ B- level they should be using because that can bring everyone's awareness up.
Right, Black Mask has appeared in the animated shows and
he's a cool character.
He's a fantastic character. You need somebody besides the same people over and over again to keep it fresh. And certainly, you've got 35 different iterations of Batman. Why not have new villains that come through?
And I think the Batman movie is going to do the same. Like Ventriloquist and Clayface and all those characters might show up, and they're definitely not as well known as your Jokers and Harleys.
Right, good point. Let's do some chat here. J. Scott Friel says most excited to see the Huntress from Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I agree, but I see your point, Jeff. Like she's not putting butts in seats necessarily the way Margot Robbie does. So you don't want to focus her. But then again, how many people were going to see Guardians of the Galaxy? I mean, like those people weren't necessarily names. So I think you got to do better work at highlighting them, and hopefully down the road they will. Story Mode says Birds of Prey looks like a better version of Charlie's Angels. I'll definitely give it a watch. Matt Link, looking forward to more Harley and seeing Black Canary on the big screen finally. Corbin says it sounds like Joel Schumacher's Gotham. Does that scare you?
I mean, I thought the same thing, but I didn't see it as a negative.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I mean, I'll listen. The buzz that I've heard, and maybe someone else at Collider has heard, has not been great.
Oh, okay.
I will say that.
All right.
So
that's what you're hearing.
I mean, they had to bring in what's his name to do the second unit like direction.
Yeah.
To
do
beef
the
up,
reshoots and
right,
stuff.
to beef up the action because it's obviously not really Kathy Ann's forte. She's working with a huge team of stunt people, and so she's they have good people around her. But I think that they needed someone with a little bit more experience doing that stuff.
But do you think it's smart to drop these 5 minutes in Brazil? Like you start talking about Black Mask, it's not like everybody knows about the Brazil Comic Con, so they've slowly been building over the last few years. Do you think it's smart because Wonder Woman 1984 is also going to drop their trailer in Brazil as well? Do you like this as a film?
Well, I mean, the movie opens in February, so it's not like you could hold it over for San Diego Comic Con. Like Brazil is huge; it's one of the biggest countries on the planet. Right. So
I think it's smart.
As good a place as any.
It's becoming like an actual cultural touchstone. Like Venom debuted footage there. A lot of the bigger movies are using that because it's a good time. It's post summer. Like we're deep into winter now, and for movies that come out in February, early spring. And these comic movies are international. I don't think we should bogart every con for America and claim all the footage for ourselves. I'm happy to hear that. Like,
actually, I'm surprised, quite. I would think it would be London. Or something like that, or even Japan, Tokyo. Yeah. That would be massive. But Brazil was something I didn't really think about. But they've really come on over the last few years. I ran in on a recent set visit. I spoke to a couple of Brazilian journalists, and they talked to me about how their thing has been building and how proud they are about it. So, that's a good thing. Yeah, overall, you got to be glable, and studios are moving towards the global aspect of their films anyway. So
and who doesn't want to go to Brazil? Like, I mean, as far as journalism goes, fly me to Brazil for a con.
Maybe next year I'll qualify Weintraub's. Take me to Brazil. I speak Spanish. I know it's Portuguese, but there are people who speak Spanish. I know. But there are people who speak Spanish. I love that about Brazil. It's the only country in the entire continent where Spanish is not their main language. Let's see. Jenna James says, out of all the characters, it's not a film I'm really looking forward to, but if I had to choose, I guess Black Mask. Luis Enrique de la Pena, do you think they'll make a spin-off series for side characters like Huntress for the DC Universe or HBO Max?
If it makes money. I think this is one of those test it out with the team movie, test it out with the known bankable stars, test it out here, and then the most beloved character, the one that trends, the one that does the popular numbers might get a spinoff. Yeah. I think that DC is really restructuring in general, so now is a good time for a spinoff. So if it does well, then it's an option.
I wonder if Renee Montoya could get a spinoff. Rosie Perez spinoff would be interesting. She talks about a character. She says that her character's pretty hardcore. What I like about her is that she works in an environment where nobody's giving her respect, and she doesn't cry about it. She fights back. She fights back really, really hard. Her goal is to clean up Gotham and make it a safe city, and she will go to the end of the earth to do that. So maybe I've always wanted a GCPD show. Yeah. Gotham, I was hoping was that, and then it really wasn't. And so that would be fun to see, because I think there is an audience who want to see a world without Batman necessarily in it, but a Batman feeling around. I mean,
I'd watch that show, GCPD. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good show.
When they cast Donald Logue, I thought that's what we were getting. Yeah. When the cast came out for that show, 8 years ago, I thought life on the street with Batman, without Batman, and then it just wasn't.
It just became a big, weird, cheesy thing. Finally, we learned about the film's version of Cassandra Cain. This is what Haley writes. Who Bosco described as a mischievous, sneaky street girl. She has a bit of a potty mouth, It seems to be everybody in this damn film has a potty mouth. And she's the one who brings the whole gang together. She doesn't have a family until she meets Harley Quinn. She finds an official family and a home in Gotham. So this is fascinating too. On the heels of Batwoman coming out with Ruby Rose, we're seeing Cassandra Cain, essentially a different version. Is that right? Is that right, Quinn?
Well, there's two different characters. In the comics, she's actually mute, which is interesting because she talks at the end of the last trailer. So I don't know how that's going to work out. And then we've also got this kind of Bat family forming. What I'm curious about is with Batwoman on the CW and then the Batman having a different tone from the Batwoman. And then this show, it seems like what they're trying to do is capture all the different types of Batman energy, like the different mythos, and kind of give you whatever you see your Batman as. I think we're going to get a detective, more gritty, smaller budget feel with Robert Pattinson's. So I think they can go the extravagant Joel Schumacher route with Birds of Prey, and that kind of satiates the Adam West fans as well as the Nolan fans.
Yeah. Jeff, you hear you said you behind the scenes, you're hearing some kind of stuff. We heard that about Wonder Woman too. And it still worked out and went really well and did really well. Do you think
I didn't hear that about Wonder Woman.
Well, I was here when that was. I remember. I don't want to say the person who said it, but like some people were reporting that there were issues about Wonder Woman behind the scenes, that it wasn't doing well. That WWE wasn't happy with it. Who was
reporting that?
I'm just telling you. And it did well in the long run. Do you think? And people were worried about Captain Marvel as well. Do you think Birds of Prey will break $100 million in opening weekend?
I didn't hear anything behind the scenes on any of those movies. By the way, do I think that this could break $100 million? Birds of Prey, like open to 100 million? Open. No.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
Opens in February?
Yeah.
I think between 80 and 100, I think 100's on the high side. Okay. I think these movies definitely have a built-in audience, but February's a tricky time to open. A lot of people are burnt out. It's a really early time to get back into the blockbuster season.
Yeah.
I think that, movies can do well in that spot. We've seen historically a lot, but if you look at the overall average, movies don't generally make $100 million in February.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm curious. I want to see the reviews first before I go to the 100 million. Well, I think it's possible. I think on the heels of what Joker did, what Aquaman has done, what Shazam did, I think it's possible.
It's rated R, right?
It's rated R.
It's not opening to 100 million.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to call it 75-80.
Joker's rated R. It made $1 billion.
That's the biggest character of the biggest non-Batman character.
What? What do you not respond to? Well, all of a sudden you're a professional, knowledgeable about superheroes. Tell me all about it. You're trying to say the bird.
What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet, John? What do you want to bet? I'll bet you anything.
I'll bet you a new shirt. I'll bet you a new shirt.
Okay.
That,
we'll estimate the shirt
from
at $100.
A decent place.
$100
shirt at $1.
$100
from a decent place.
$20.
$50.
$50. $100 million.
Wood Ranch lunch dinner. Wood Ranch dinner. The higher price.
You got it.
Okay.
Deal. All right. $100 million.
If the reviews are good and the buzz is great, $100 million.
These qualifiers are.
That's part of the game. You can't ask in a vacuum. All right, I've laid the guy on it. Anyway, we'll find out that Birds of Prey arrives in theaters February 7th, 2020. And there's more coverage, of course, coming from CCXP, from our people down there, covering all of it in the lovely country of Brazil. All right, let's move on to our second topic, and that is, I don't know if you know this, but there's a movie coming out in the next couple of weeks. It's called Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker. And we've, our own Perri Nemiroff went down and had some conversations. There was a big Star Wars day, I think it was yesterday, couple days ago, big Star Wars press conference, all that. I can't tell. I'm sick as hell, so I can't remember when this was, but it was massive. I know it was this week. I know Perri was there covering it, and she talked to Adam Driver and J.J. Abrams about the importance of Kylo Ren's helmet in this movie. Let's take a look at that clip now.
Part of it is about his commitment to the dark side. He, as you'll see, is becoming supreme leader, and without giving anything away, his sort of focus has been a little bit more on practical matters. He's assumed, that position within the First Order. And so this is a bit, it represents his sort of recommitting to the dark side, to the Knights of Ren, and then, because of a very specific thing that he's about to go do. So it as you see in the story, there's a reason for it, which it might not be clear, obviously, at this moment to the audience.
We've been talking about with people before about masks, and that's such a huge iconography of Star Wars that we took for granted, that we had to reimagine. So what is it about someone who hides himself, or presents the person to the world, but underneath is something completely different? And I think maybe there's a moment in this one where that's surprising.
I'll be looking out for it.
Yeah, what a vague
Good job
answer.
not spoiling anything.
So a lot there, you see what you hear from the responses. It is him recommitting to the dark side, to the Knights of Ren. We certainly saw a clip of him from the recent TV spot walking with the Knights of Ren on a destroyer or a ship of some kind. And the idea of masks. It's been a very big deal, obviously, since Vader. People remember when Luke had to confront himself on Dagobah and rip open the mask of Vader when he beat him, and it was himself inside the mask, which of course kind of a little foreshadowing that his dad was Vader. So I'm going to go to you first, Coy, because I know Jeff doesn't necessarily want to opine on this too strongly. But Coy, does this make you feel like there's not going to be a redemption for Kylo?
He definitely gets redemption.
Yeah, you think so?
I mean,
even with all these comments,
especially because of all these comments,
okay.
they're doubling down on the twist. But like, there's so many moments in the trailer that lend itself to that. We've seen so many implications that she is trained by Kylo. There seems to be. I doubt she goes dark, so I definitely see him going light.
Okay.
I do like the idea that the mask is a symbol on top of a symbol. I like the idea that him rebuilding it represents something, an important movement in the movie. I love the way they use red to kind of like, glue it back together. I like all the imagery there. So it's just a matter of, I hope it has something to do with the crystals that form his lightsaber. Like he rebuilds it with those crystals. I know very little about Star Wars. I'm not going to claim any knowledge, but I know there's a kyber crystal.
Yeah, the kyber crystal.
So maybe he uses a kyber crystal to kind of glue his stuff back together. Again, I don't know anything about Star Wars.
Those are usually for lightsabers, but okay.
Maybe I don't know what kindergarten's like in the world of Star Wars. Maybe you got your plaster of Paris, use some kyber crystals. I don't know. This is my level of knowledge, but it was red. I got excited.
I like the kyber crystal Lego building blocks. I respect that.
We're gonna go crazy. I'm excited for it, but I definitely think that he still goes good at the end. I think Adam Driver will land on the good side by the end of the movie. But I think this will make $100 million. Oh,
well, good call. Good call. They end the quote by saying, "What is it about someone who hides himself or presents a person to the world, but underneath is something different?" Maybe there's a moment in this movie that's surprising.
Maybe there is. I hope so. It's a 2.5-hour movie. Do I hope that Kylo Ren is redeemed? No. He's the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
Why are we hoping that this guy turns good? There's good and there's evil. He's evil.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him become a good guy.
Yeah.
That's just movies 101.
Were you cheering for Vader's redemption, though?
No.
You did. So when he saved Luke, you were like, oh, damn. You're going to do this? Really?
Oh, yes, when he saved Luke. I remember. No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, at the end of Return of the Jedi, when he throws the Emperor down the chute. Nothing. All right. Do you like the fact that they're approaching this in a symbolic way, kind of like a complex way, the idea of masks and wearing masks? Like the fact that stays throughout, a theme that stays throughout the Star Wars coming back to it?
Listen, how many Star Wars movies have I covered? These actors go on these press tours and they talk about the deep themes and, oh my God, this and that. This stuff's not in the movie. So we'll see. I got to see the movie before I talk about it. I don't understand how people can do junkets for movies they haven't seen. Why does Disney make journalists do this?
There you go. That's the Sneider rant. You'll see more of that on the Sneider Cut.
You sure will.
I'm sure you can hear more of that on the Sneider Cut later today. Any last things you want to say about this, Coy? I like that they said what they said. I like that they're kind of leaning into the mask. I like the idea of him recommitting to being the supreme leader. But if they do redeem him, are they going to do it from the top down? Because remember, with Vader, he killed the Emperor, but the Emperor never turned good. If this is essentially kind of taking the place of the Emperor and Vader because it killed Snoke, surely we heard Palpatine, but we don't know if Palpatine's going to be in the helmet or Palpatine was connection. But what do you think about this?
Two things. My first thought is I think it's really important that the actors find depth in these things. So I think the benefit of the junket is to give them the opportunity to show things they can't necessarily like on screen. If you've got 500 things coming at you in X-Wings and TIE fighters, you don't get the time to have the depth, but you cast, your Adam Drivers and your talented actors. Yeah. They're putting things, there's an undercurrent of the performance that, they get an opportunity to talk about. I think a lot of the best actors work in superhero movies because actually, have you seen the Endgame deleted scenes that didn't have CGI?
Yeah.
It's incredible the work they're doing because there's nothing going on and they're putting in the work.
The astral plane one was fantastic.
It's incredible because you're acting off of nothing. Yep. And I think that's way harder. So I think junkets allow you to say the things you don't get to necessarily show on screen. But as far as the movie redemption, I think we're living in a really different time than the first Star Wars. So I think that you see some of the marketing saying choose a side. Jedis are good and Sith's bad. It's not really a side to choose. Right. So I think it's going to be interesting if we do get redemption because we live in a not scarier time, but a differently scary time.
Right.
So I think the world's always going through rising and falling of different, elements. And I think right now we're at a very tumultuous time. So having a movie where something upends the status quo is an interesting commentary on where we are.
Well, the gutsier choice, I think, in my opinion, is to not redeem him. Is to have Rey kill him once and for all and atone for all the sins. And maybe in that moment of death, he realizes the mistakes he's made and find some kind of enlightenment. So you kind of pseudo-redeem him before he dies. But I think he should. I think Rey should take him. Because it's right. It's good versus evil. That's what it's all about. It isn't always about holding hands and walking into the sunrise together, or sunset together. It's about, sometimes you do have to take evil off the world.
But I do fear the redemption is the linear choice that will happen.
Yeah. Well, I know. Everybody knows my feelings about that. I've certainly had some battles on Twitter about it myself. So, all right, well, we'll see what happens. The movie comes out in the next couple of weeks. It'll be exciting. I haven't heard yet when our screenings are going to be, so I'm looking for. I know what day. I don't know what time, but I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I can't wait to talk about it. And hopefully, they wrap this thing up in such a fantastic way. Whether Jeff wants to see that or not, we'll see. All right, let's move on to some promos for other content you have here on Collider before I pass out here. Collider Mailbag is coming up this weekend. Guess who's not hosting it? Me. That's right. I wasn't feeling so great, as you guys have known, but Dorian Parks didn't even wait for my body to get cold. He slid right on in there and said, I can host it. So come and watch Dorian Parks, 7 a.m. Pacific Time every morning on Saturday and Sunday this weekend, and see how he does as the host of Collider Mailbag. I personally am looking forward to it. Love that kid. Hope he does really great, but it's still my job, you SOB. All right, let's move on to some other promos here. What else we got? Oh, we got some wrestling. Let's take a look at that right now. Oh, no, that's the Rocket Man. That's the FYC screening we got coming up. Sorry about that. That's on Saturday at the ArcLight here in Hollywood at 7 p.m. There are still tickets. And it's followed by a Q&A with Taron Egerton, Jamie Bell, and Dexter Fletcher, the director of the movie. I personally love this damn movie. People don't give it enough love. It should be nominated for Best Picture, in my opinion, and possibly even Best Actor. But, Jeff would disagree with me. Adam, do we have any wrestling stuff? No?
What's up, Collider?
There he is.
Ryan Satin here from ProWrestlingSheet.com, where you can find the top stories throughout the week in the world of professional wrestling. If you're a wrestling fan like myself, then you'll be doing yourself a disservice by not checking out all the shows we do every week on youtube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. In particular, on Wednesdays, we've got a SmackDown recap show hosted by John Rocha and myself, where we pick apart and talk about every little thing that happened on the Blue Brand. So do yourself a favor and go subscribe at youtube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet.
Yeah, the Pro Wrestling Sheet's still happening. We're not doing the recaps anymore, those highlights you saw there, the Raw and SmackDown recaps anymore. But they are still doing the Pro Wrestling Sheet radio on Thursdays with Ryan Satin as sort of guests. And occasionally I get to come on as well and talk some wrestling, which is always fun with those guys. So don't forget that. Jeff, you got a Sneider cut coming up today?
I sure do. I'm taping it later. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about, but I'm going to be planning it after this.
What about Kylo Ren's helmet? Do you want to talk about that?
That will not be in the show.
I have a deep cut coming up on the Collider Conversations feed that drops today, a little bit later today. I interviewed the director of the Brazilian film The Hidden Life that is being possibly nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. Karim Ainuz is the director of that film. We sat down for an hour and had a fantastic conversation about his career and about the film itself and why he loves it so much. All right, let's move on to our third topic. That is Spider-Man. Well, this is an interesting story this is via The Hollywood Reporter, but on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Tom Holland was on there, and he was asked about the Spider-Man situation. Of course, everybody knows Spider-Man MCU, Spider-Man Sony, that whole thing that went on a couple of months ago. And Holland, so happy now that Spider-Man has come back to the MCU. But this was an interesting tale. Apparently, Tom and Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, started having these emails, and after Tom spoke at, I think it was D23 about Onward and about how much he was going to miss not playing Spider-Man and all that, kind of prompted a response from Iger. Then there was emails, and then apparently after a night of pub trivia with his parents, 3 pints in, Bob Iger just happened to call Tom Holland. First, let's just stop there. Who goes out drinking with their parents? Tom, you're such a sweet guy, I guess. He answers and admits to being devastated on the call because it truly felt like the end. But then Tom said we had a really good plan on what we were going to do with Sony after the split. The future of Spider-Man was still very bright, but it would have been a shame to take him out of the MCU. That's where he belongs. We built such a strong character in that world, and it would have been a shame to lose that. but I'm really glad we managed to work it out. Now, I go to Jeff Sneider on this because Lord knows Jeff Snyder's had many drunken conversations from a bar. Jeff, for God's sakes, does this strike you as insane, and do you believe this story at all?
Yeah, no. This is a deal. The Sony Marvel deal is worked out by these people, and they're called, what is it? Lawyers. Lawyers do that deal. Not Tom Holland. Tom Holland doesn't even do his own deal. That's why he has something called an agent. So Tom Holland is as cute a story as this is for the late night circuit and the fans on Instagram. This was so far above your pay grade. I mean, I just don't understand why we're still talking about it 2 months after this deal is closed.
Well, because he talked about it finally, and he said this is a new wrinkle that he was drunk and a conversation. I mean, with Bob Iger.
Element is funny that Bob Iger calls and he's like, "Oh my God, this is an unlisted number, and I'm feeling a little tipsy, but I gotta answer it if it's Bob Iger." Like, that is a humorous sort of thing.
Wait, do you think it's an unlisted number to Tom Holland's phone? I'm pretty sure he put Bob Iger in his phone.
I think I read that it was unlisted.
Oh, I don't believe that part of the story. I don't believe that part of the story. Coy, what do you think about this? You're a massive Spider-Man fan. First of all, do you like the story? And second of all, do you believe the story?
I'm more curious about the Sony element, like what the movie would have been. I like that line of the quote to me is the one no one's talking about. They had an entirely different path, saying like we had a Sony idea and now we have a Disney idea, and I'd be fascinated to know like what is mutually exclusive to either. Like what are they allowed to do now that it's back over here? What had they written? I mean, we assume there was going to go like he'd be in Venom, he'd be in Morbius. Will that not happen now? Yeah. So for me, that was all fascinating. The fun hijinks of a late night talk show drunk element. Like I can't imagine answering the phone being my boss's 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 boss.
Yeah, right.
So like that's a really, and also Tom Holland is just the most earnest, endearing like who else would go out drinking with their parents and get a phone call from Bob Iger? Like, right. That just makes all the sense, like karmically.
On a pub trivia night, no less.
It's just all adorable.
Yeah.
And I saw him at D23 and he was just so like we all saw him at D23 and he was just so downtrodden and sad, and like you felt the weight in his shoulders of what he was going through, and they put him in public. Like I felt so bad that the timing of those, like, you know, those arrangements, and he's like, "Hi, I'm here promoting that other Disney thing, and I can't talk about that Disney thing, and I'm just a child,
and I'm losing weight to be in a film directed by guys who directed Endgame that I can't be in anymore."
And then doing press for this, now he can finally say I'm back. But can you imagine if we'd had him promoting a Disney film and then doing another animated film and then a Russo film, but like can't be Spider-Man. So I'm really happy for Tom.
Right.
He's an actor. He's acting. I mean, I'm sure he was sad just because at D23, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Tom, you're not going to be in the MCU anymore." And he's like, "I'm sorry, little boy. I wish I could." But I'm sure behind the scenes, his agents are like, "Listen, this deal's going to work out," because anyone with a brain knew it was going to work out because there's something called money on the table and nobody lets money just go.
That's not true. That happens all the time in deals.
No, it doesn't.
I could point you to the Chicago Bulls and Jerry Krause letting go of Jordan. People leave money on the table all the time.
This is Hollywood.
Oh my God. There are many examples of people leaving money on the table for Hollywood. Moving on from Alec Baldwin's Jack Ryan. Well, we can't wait for you. You go do that play. We're going to recast it. There's many things that happen in Hollywood where they mess it up all the time. And have money on the table and just move on. Did you want to see the recasting of Tommy Chong from the Matrix films? Like that, you know, he was good in that first Matrix. Why was he recast? Those kinds of things happen in Hollywood all the time where money becomes an issue. You recast and the results are not positive. So don't tell me they don't leave money on the table. They do. It's a matter of pride and ego. He says, Tom Holland, "I wept," quote unquote. "I was really emotional because I felt like it was all coming to an end. But I guess it didn't, so they worked it out." But sometimes, I know, Jeff, I know you make great points here, the lawyers, agents, money, all that involved, but sometimes it can be a human touch. And if the story was true, it sometimes can be just a human moment that pierces through all these layers, and it's like, okay, well, let's work this out.
I also think that if Tom was at D23, he might not have been in the higher up rooms of those discussions, like as you're speaking to. So and the kid wanted to play Spider-Man since he was born. So I feel like if there's even a chance of losing that, that's going to affect your day to day, especially at a D23 convention. Like you're at a Disney convention going like, "Can't talk about this thing I love." That's hard on a human.
Yeah, exactly. Well, either way, we're getting Spider-Man back in the MCU. I'm excited to see it, and however it came about, drunken or sober, I'm just glad it came. Lawyers, agents, or Iger and Holland, however it came about, I'm just glad it's happening. I think we all are excited to see. But Coy, there is a strong contingent of people that feel like you that would like to have seen what Sony could have done with another license on this. Certainly, Venom made a lot of money, so the possibilities here would have been interesting to see how they would have worked the Venom versus Spider-Man movie, because we might not get that in the MCU initially.
I think we would have ended up with a Sinister Six movie sooner. I think that they have all the universe of characters that belong to Spider-Man.
Certainly.
So I think they would have leaned out of him being, mini Iron Man. And I really, truly, I hope that the end of the last Spider-Man put him at the position to be Spider-Man for the first time within the MCU. We've had Uncle Tony Stark. We've had all the little side hijinks. Now it's time for him to be in New York, him be Spider-Man. So it would have been a perfect time for him to go over to Sony, but I'd rather him have a goodbye at Marvel that doesn't feel like we just got jolted out of it.
Yeah, fair point. Any last words, Jeff?
Next topic.
Well, that's all the talks we have today. So let's get into your live chat questions. You all been sending some questions here. Fast and Furious. A lot of comments more than questions, but let's throw out a couple that came in through just recently now. J. Scott Freya wants to know, with his version of Suicide Squad on the way, do you think James Gunn has had any influence on Birds of Prey behind the scenes? Certainly we saw that in Marvel with other directors coming to talk to the Russo brothers with Endgame and Infinity War with their characters that they directed them in. Do you think this is something, on the films they directed them in, do you think this is something that's happening behind the scenes as well?
I don't know that DC's as collaborative there's no like brain trust. And James Gunn always felt like he was part of that like behind the scenes Illuminati of making those Marvel things work. So I don't know if DC's doing that. I think that DC definitely respects James Gunn. So if there is going to be someone consulting, it's going to be, your James Gunns, your the people that are at that echelon.
Right.
So I could see that working out, but I don't know if timing wise that would land for him.
Okay.
So maybe.
What about you, Jeff?
No.
You don't think so? You don't think James Gunn has any influence on the Birds of Prey? Because Harley Quinn is in both. Okay.
Oh my God, she's in both?
Well, I'm just saying.
No.
Okay. All right. Fair point. Lana Stanzik wants to know, any thoughts on Pacino missing out in the Critics Group Awards? Will this affect his Oscar chances in any way?
The Critics Group Awards?
Yeah.
What is that?
I'm just saying. That's what she's asking. Has Pacino been nominated? Him not winning in these Critic Groups Awards, does this affect his Oscar chances?
Al Pacino was doing his Al Pacino thing in The Irishman. Joe Pesci was so much better than Al Pacino. Get out of here with this Al Pacino talk.
Wow.
The idea that Pacino is going to beat Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was excellent in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't understand the Pacino love this season at all.
All right, here's a question that Dorian found I thought was really funny. Speaking of conventions, this is from Luis Enrique de la Peña. If you could visit one convention in another country, where would it be?
A convention?
Yeah.
Does it have to be a real convention?
Well, you going to make up a convention?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I don't know the international Comic-Cons, excuse me.
I'm scared of where you're going, but go ahead.
Well, I want to visit Australia. Is there an Australia Comic-Con?
I'm sure there must be something.
Well, then sign me up for that one.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
I really like Irish comic fans. They're like so dedicated because it's harder to get books over there. So Dublin Comic Con, they bring in really good talent, and they also like Irish comic fans are so zealous. So the combination of that.
There's a Dublin Comic Con?
Yeah.
Invite me. I will host any panel you want at a Dublin Comic Con. Yeah. Chloe and I will totally go.
We're there.
Please.
Dublin Comic Con.
I haven't visited Dublin, so I would love to
perfect.
go. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Edinburgh, too. If there's
We'll go to
Scottish
SPG,
Comic-Con.
we'll go train MMA, and then we'll go over to Comic Con. We'll have a whole time, man. It's going to be great.
Let me get back in shape, Coy, and I'll do that.
Let's do it.
Let me recover from this first. All right, our next question is from Luke Nelson. What celebrity would you want to have a drunken phone conversation with? Ooh, this is a good question.
Brad Pitt.
Oh, nice.
I feel like he's one of the last movie stars. He's seen the tide change. He's played so many iconic characters. And he's that character actor trapped in like too handsome a body.
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk to him about like what it's like to try to get like he struggles for roles like other actors do, but he's a movie star at the same time.
Right.
So I'd love to talk to him about like the struggle of trying to play something that people don't see you as while also being better than a lot of the roles he ends up getting because he's so handsome.
Fair enough. Jeff.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks.
Ooh. That's right. Tom Hanks. Get Tom Hanks drunk, and I bet you he could be a completely different person than the guy we see on screen.
That's a good point.
That's fun.
He
I
has
like
some
the
good stories too. Yeah.
I'd love to have a drunken night out with Russell Crowe. I might have survived.
Could you match him?
Sounds like violent.
Yeah, I mean, I might not survive, but it'd be worth it to tell the story if I did. But a drunken phone conversation. It's a tough one. Like, who's been around for a while and has stories? Like, what producers are out there or directors are out there that have stories from multiple generations and multiple decades, and you could really like get into a conversation.
Tom Cruise would be fun because I can't imagine he drinks.
I was thinking
so it'd be like
Tom.
a new thing for him.
Yeah,
like he'd be alarmed.
Yeah, like he'd be like, well, sure.
This is fine.
This
Risky
is what really
business.
happens. This is what really happened on Top Gun. This is what really happened. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. George Clooney's another one. I think I'd enjoy a drunken conversation.
Does Tom Cruise imbibe alcohol?
I don't think he does.
I don't think he does.
But that's part of the
What's the
curiosity.
fancy question anyway? You're not going to have a conversation with Tom Hanks.
I think Ryan
Well, I mean, it should
Reynolds
be
Aviation Gin.
realistic.
Oh, that's fair.
That's right. It's true. All right. Fair enough. All right. Let's see. Scott Belswell, what was your favorite Thanksgiving bread? Oh, my God. Dorian, you always have to slide in a goddamn bread question. All right. What was your favorite Thanksgiving bread?
The ultimate bread of the year, stuffing.
Stuffing.
Stuffing
Nice.
is that's the best part of Thanksgiving, and it's bread.
Unusual choice. Jeff.
The bagel that I have each year.
Oh, there it is. I was going to ask you if you celebrate Thanksgiving. I had a feeling you didn't.
I mean, I celebrated. I just don't really enjoy turkey. I had 2 bites of turkey this year.
Yeah, you were in Boston,
But
right?
normally I bring my own BYOB, bring your own bagel.
Okay.
Yeah.
You went back to Boston?
I went back, yeah.
Nice. I didn't make this year.
Got sick.
They let him back in. Oh, that's who gave it to me. Oh, you bastard. All right, Luis Enrique de la Pena, if you could collect any helmet from any movie signed by the star, which one would it be?
Helmet?
That's a shout out. I love that. Jeff, your answer?
Magneto's helmet.
Oh, nice.
And I'd have Ian McKellen. So
Not Fassbender, Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen.
All
I'd
right,
have signed.
fair enough.
He's friggin' Magneto.
I think Moneyball. Pitt, Sorkin, Jonah Hill. Like I'd get a
Like an
baseball
Oakland
helmet.
A's helmet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
yeah.
that. That's a good answer. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we said Tom Cruise.
I went sports and you went superhero.
It's
This was
weird.
Whoa,
Upside down
guys,
day.
what is going on? We said Tom Cruise. I would love to have his Top Gun helmet, Maverick.
Oh,
signed by
that's
Tom Cruise.
incredible.
That would absolutely be in a case.
Oh, like the first one, like
Yeah,
Val
the first
Kilmer,
one.
get everybody.
From the 86, right? Kilmer.
Yes.
He's still kicking around. Anthony Edwards.
call.
All those
Tony
people.
Scott before
Tom
we lost
Skerritt.
him.
Yeah, Tony Scott before we lost him. That would have been Kelly McGillis is still around. Get all those. It would be great to have all those signatures. All right, Steve Calderon, what are your expectations from the first Wonder Woman 1984 trailer next week? Do you have any expectations?
We haven't seen much, if anything. We've seen some images. I think the tone is going to be what I'm curious if it leans nostalgia or nostalgia. Is it going to be like remember when, or is it going to be just set in this world? Okay. I hope it leans a little less Stranger Things and a little more just diving into the world. So like the camera elements look like the 80s and all those things, but I hope it doesn't like. I hope the trailer doesn't cut to like shoulder pads. I hope it doesn't go like, remember the 80s? And I hope it just feels like the 80s.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff?
Damn, we're really on the same page. I was going to say embarrassing 80s fashion.
Okay.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah, right.
I want to see just bad shoulder pads and tracksuits and yes.
Like Glow. Like we get in Glow.
Yeah, I
Glow
wanted
does that.
I
It's
wanted
great.
to have a little bit of fun.
Absolutely. It really is tough sometimes to watch that. Having grown up in the 80s, you're like, oh man, what were we thinking? Those the big balls.
Did you have a mustache in the 80s, John?
I did. I can show you some porn stash. It's terrible.
Oh.
Maybe I'll post it up for the fans. It's a terrible mustache.
And when did you start wearing glasses? Do you have glasses in the 80s too?
No, I didn't know I always knew I had vision issues, but I didn't want to deal with it. Like I was very like kind of at times macho dude, even though I was kind of a nerdy guy. And I didn't want to, it wasn't until the military. The military.
Oh, wow.
They
put them on you.
Yeah. They
This man
force
can't
you.
see.
This guy can't shoot a rifle.
I just think of the glasses my dad wore in the 80s, and I could see them on you. And
No. Never wore glasses in the 80s, thank God.
Okay.
But I had no product in my hair, so there was split and it just dropped. So I look like full.
You got to post these pictures. That's amazing.
It's terrible. I'm ugly as hell in those pictures too, man. It's a miracle any girl talked to me, even though I did all right. All right, so Planet Sonia. Oh, MK Songbird wants to know what's your most overrated movie of the year? Most overrated movie of the year.
I gotta look.
Can you politically
yeah.
answer this question?
I mean, I know what the answer is. I feel bad ragging on it again.
You don't have to rag it, but just say it's overrated.
Bombshell.
Wow. But he hasn't even come out yet.
All right. What would be overrated, huh?
You got to tell us. You got to look, huh?
Yeah, I gotta
right.
look. I need a minute. Does Corey have an
No,
answer?
on the same boat. I enjoyed The Lighthouse, but it wasn't like the revelation. But like that's not really fair because I thought it was like a B, and a lot of people thought it was an A. That's not huge. That's not a giant disparity. I had a hard time getting into The Irishman, which makes me feel like a bad cinephile.
Ooh.
But and also at the same time, like I thought it was a B, it wasn't an A. So it's still not like
Okay.
It was fine. I'm glad I saw it. I wasn't upset. It just
Right.
I think the most overrated movie of all time is Armageddon.
What?
Yep, that's right.
Get off this goddamn stage.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that mic drop. It is not a Criterion film.
A heart attack to go with my bronchitis. What the hell's wrong?
That's a great movie.
That movie hurts me that it exists.
What?
They train drillers to be astronauts instead of astronauts to be drillers. It has freaking Steven Tyler's daughter like singing. Like there's a ballad of Steven Tyler while his daughter makes out with Ben Affleck. It's so weird and uncomfortable. That movie is just so like. Bleh.
That's a Criterion release. You're saying.
That's why it's overrated.
It's
a perfectly Michael Bay film. It is not a Criterion film.
I would go with either Midsommar.
Oh, you thought it was overrated?
Yeah,
okay.
or the one that's really driving me crazy, Knives Out. I did not care for Knives Out at all, and I could poke all kinds of holes through it, believe me.
That is surprising.
Yeah.
A lot of people like
Glad people had fun with that one. But for me, like, I was reading this thing Keith Phipps had wrote, and he was like, well, it does, in a whodunit, it's not really about the murder mystery. It's about the characters that you're spending the time with. I think it's the complete opposite. This movie could have been horrible for 2 hours if it had just stuck the landing. If it had just, nailed the end of that mystery, and I don't think that it did.
I got mine.
Okay.
Aladdin. How did that do so well? Like Aladdin, I was actively bothered by. I thought the new songs didn't work. I thought the pacing was awful. I thought that with the genie stuff, really, when they let Will Smith be Will Smith, it was great. But when they tried to make Will Smith Robin Williams, I noticed.
Okay.
I thought that the two leads didn't get a chance to actually be. I liked the actors, and that was the problem. Was I liked all the pieces of the puzzle, but the puzzle never felt like it came together.
Okay.
And I'm a huge Guy Ritchie fan, and I felt like they just they stifled him. I felt like Guy Ritchie never got to be Guy Ritchie. Everything felt like it was someone else directing a Guy Ritchie style of a neutered version of Aladdin. So there were too many elements that removed me from the movie, and then it made so much money. Right. So this is that rare opportunity to hear me say something negative. Aladdin, I thought was
wow. All right, I would say because Aquaman climbed over into 2019. Aquaman, yeah. Suck it.
Your hatred of Aquaman continues a new year.
Business making $1 billion. No business. Armageddon's a better movie. I said it. All right, one last question, and we'll get out of here. Planet Sonia wants to know, if you had to be handcuffed to an actor for a day, who would you choose? I think my answer is still the same. Tom Cruise. I mean, we'd be hanging out, doing all kinds of crazy things, and it would be great to get to know him for over a 24-hour period. And I'd probably have to do some crazy stunts with him if he was shooting a Mission Impossible movie, especially if we're handcuffed together.
My answer would be Seth Rogen.
Oh, Jesus.
Because I feel like he's Deadpool. I want to hang out with Ryan Reynolds all day. I feel like that man must have adventures. Yeah. And he's so quippy and interesting, but he also seems like a really heartfelt, good dude. Right. I imagine the world is a lot funnier when you're around Ryan Reynolds. I think so too. My second choice is Charlize Theron, who is absolutely phenomenal. My second choice is Natalie Portman. I was thinking the way she sees the world, because she's a Harvard graduate mother. Right. She chooses interesting roles. Exactly. I'd love to see how she operates. Charlize is gorgeous. It'd be great to see dudes fall over themselves trying to talk to her and laugh, and we'd share a little inside jokes about it. But also, she's incredibly knowledgeable woman about what's going on in the world, the politics of the world. Mm-hmm. So we'd have some fun conversations. I probably get incredible amount of knowledge from hang out with her. What about you, Jeff? You got a second choice? Second choice? What, James Franco? What's your second choice? Pineapple Express action? What are you doing? Both hands. He's just with the three of them. I don't know. You don't know? No. All right, there you go. Let's end it there. All right, well, thanks everybody for watching this live episode of Collider Movie Talk. I apologize for my voice. As you guys know, I'm struggling through something, so I appreciate you all putting up with it so much. Shout out to Adam Smith in the booth, who always deals with my craziness whenever I host this show or I'm on this show. I appreciate it like crazy. Coy, thank you so much. Where can they find you, my man? Tuesdays on Collider Heroes, Thursdays on Giant Size Heroes, all over the internet, on Twitter and Instagram, and Screen Junkies, Nerdist here and there, Ranker, all sorts of places. At Coy Jandreau. That's where you follow him. Jeff Sneider, where can they find the At the Sneider, if you dare. There you go. That's true. That's for sure. That's a challenge. And also, you can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And we will talk to you next week with another live episode of Collider Movie Talk, 9 a.m. PT on Monday. Until then, have yourselves a great weekend. And don't get sick.